Hello Marcus, this is a quick video because this is easier than writing down a bunch of stuff and sending it with these golf clubs. So first club or first thing will be this golf shaft. So this is a very excellent golf shaft. I like this one. This is kind of what I'm playing, except this is more suited to your game. So this is the Ventus by Fujikura, and it's got Velo core. So Velo core is the important thing because this shaft comes with that and without that. And the non-Velo core or Velo core is a much less desirable shaft. It's not nearly as high quality. So this shaft is the black version, and the black version is for lower trajectory because you said sometimes you were hitting it too high. So it's a low trajectory monster shaft, and it's the Tour Stiff, slightly heavier version, but it's still a light shaft, but not a crazy ultralight shaft like a slower swing player would use or something. So this, I think, is a pretty perfect shaft for you, unless you're hitting it way too low, in which case we could sell it and swap it out for the blue version, which is more like mine. That's a medium trajectory, and then there's a red trajectory to hit the ball high that I don't think somebody with your swing speed would probably ever use. But so this, I'm hoping, is a big game changer with your driver, where you can swing away without losing the shots to the right. I would expect that if you're swinging really hard, it's really easy to have your miss start to turn into a cut, and then you'd probably be overcorrecting to normally hit a draw. So this will allow you to kind of take a full swing at it and have more of a normal ball flight without being worried about leaving these weaker shots high and to the right. And that's about it. So it's got the tailor-made adapter tip that should be like yours right now. So you should just be able to plug it into your sim head and go to town. It's got, I put the same grip on all the clubs, which is the same as the ones that I have that you liked. That way there's no question about liking a grip instead of liking the club. So that's the driver. That should be good to go, and we can work with that. Random order, no particular biasing order. This is a set of Titleist irons, and this one is a little bit different because there's 3 of them. So normally I'm sending you a pitching wedge and a 6-iron so that you can kind of see your shortest clubs and your longest clubs potentially. Although I do have, I think, 4 irons and up for all of these sets in general. But this one I also included a 5-iron because it's a hybrid combo set. So the 5-iron with the Titleist is an AP2, and you or Ferg might be playing those if I remember correctly. So AP2 is a nice forgiving iron to have in your long irons. This is the 714 version, if you can see that, the 714 version. So these are kind of the original prototypes that everybody raves about. Those are good. And so that's the more forgiving one. So the other ones are bladies. These are the muscle-back versions of the 714s. And that'll go all the way down. The clubs had a little bit of wear, and so I did a little bit of work on the grooves to make sure that the grooves are nice and sharp. So even though there's a little wear on the face, the grooves themselves should be good for getting full spin out of them. Next set, shaft-wise, this is a Tour Stiff KBS in a black, which is kind of cool looking. But a Tour Stiff KBS Tour shaft, super popular amongst the higher swing speed guys. This is a set of the Callaway X Forged, and this is a little different than some of the other sets because I think all the other sets that I have for you I made an inch over standard length, And then this set that I had already sitting around was 1/2 inch over standard. So 1/2 inch over standard is what I'm playing, but with your height, the books all say you should be playing 1 inch over standard, or probably at least 3/4 of an inch. But if that feels just ungodly too long, maybe this will feel the right length. Any of these clubs that are too long, we can obviously take the grips off, cut off a 1/2 inch, and make them any length you want. We could take them all the way back down to standard if you feel like longer clubs are just something that you can't adjust to. So Callaway X Forged, and this shaft is a Project X 6.0, and that is not a tour stiff shaft. I threw that in there. This is kind of the wild card set that has just regular stiff shaft and is a 1/2 inch over instead of a full inch over. Here's a set of old school Golfsmith blades, and these are just a true bladey blade with one of the old school, most popular of its era, rifle 6.5 stiffness shafts. So like your driver right now is 6.0. These clubs we just talked about are 6.0 also, but that's what I play, is a 6.0. And so these are 6.5, and then these give you that little bit of extra stiffness so that you can load the shaft a little bit more without getting too crazy stiff like a 7.0. And then those are 1 inch over standard. This club, TaylorMade. This is a TaylorMade rack. These are actually a TaylorMade rack TP Tour Professional, or Tour Preferred. I think Tour Preferred. And then it's got the little, that's CB for cavity back. They made sets of these that were more bladey also. This has kind of the industry standard X100 True Temper shaft, the Tour Stiff shaft. And these are playing 1 inch over standard right now. So we'll see what you think of those 4 sets of irons. So with these 4 sets of irons, I'm hoping something clicks for you. It could be that you like more than one set, which would be good. But if none of those click for you, we will try something different, because we can always try something different in terms of irons. If you feel like they're too long and you like the iron, that's easy. We can take them down in any increment you want and make them any length. And if you don't like the grips, we can always swap the grips, obviously, for anything else. And that's about it for the irons. I figure you need a hybrid, really. Let's jump over here to the hybrid, and you can see all the junk in the garage here. But so for the hybrid, it's the same hybrid that I have, that I play in a 4 hybrid, and you should be playing a 3 hybrid with your swing speed probably. Plus it's adjustable, so you can basically convert this down 1.5 degrees and make it the equivalent of a 4 hybrid if you want to, or you could tune it down even more and turn it into like a seriously low flying driving hybrid. And that would be really good if you're just trying to maybe reach some par 5s that are hella long or something. But so it's got the adjustability, which I think is always pretty essential nowadays in any club. So it comes with this normal shaft, which is just the a Ping Alta shaft, which is a good shaft. But this is just a stiff shaft instead of a tour shift shaft. A stiff shaft instead of a tour stiff shaft. And it's a pretty light shaft for somebody who swings it as hard as you do at 70 grams. It's also a little bit more, I guess I have these all at kind of the same standard length here. This is like a 40-inch club. So this one, I don't think will feel too short for you. And we could make them longer if you feel like they felt short by comparison. But that's the standard shaft that came with it. But then I gave you 2 shaft options here. So this is in the same vein as these black irons that we talked about. This is a KBS shaft, and the KBS, no it isn't. What is this? Totally drawing a blank. I still think it's a KBS shaft in the hybrid, but it doesn't have any steps. It's a smooth shaft. So we'll just call it a KBS shaft right now. I'm trying to worry now if it's actually a Project X shaft that I bought, and now I can't for the life of me remember. But I have it all figured out if we love it. So this is a little bit of a heavier shaft. It's an iron shaft, and the current rumor is that for guys who are swinging as fast as you are, having an iron shaft, having a steel shaft instead of a graphite shaft can be a lifesaver in the hybrids, so that you don't balloon them and hit them high in the air. And then for a graphite shaft, this one is just a little bit heavier than the other one that we were looking at. It's a graphite shaft, but it's 85 grams. And this is an old school shaft. This is the ProForce V2, where they've been using these on tour for forever. Jim Furyk uses this shaft to this day, I think. He's had one in his clubs for like 10 years. So this is just a good, for a better player, low kick point, doesn't balloon it up in the air. A little gaudy here in the yellow and white and red, but that's what I've got you for a hybrid. So something that you can use when you're scrambling, and for you probably going for some par fives here and there. You should be able to hit that a ton. If we're working our way through this, and this one of these hybrids works for you, then you really just have to find a 3-wood. Here's something that you might click with and you might not. This would be, technically it's a hybrid, but it's more of a driving iron. So it's TaylorMade Gapper. They made them for like 2 years, and people talked a lot about them and liked them, but they didn't sell very well, so they didn't continue to make them. So it's sort of halfway between a hybrid and an iron. And I tried to get these to fit my game, so I bought 2 of them to try to figure out which ones would work. So there's a 4 hybrid at 21 degrees of loft, and I have the 3 hybrid at I think 19 degrees of loft, 3 hybrid at 18 degrees of loft, and they are adjustable in there, so you can adjust those higher or lower, which makes them pretty awesome. I wouldn't think that you'd probably need both of them in your bag, because a lot of people would only use this off the tee. Some people would maybe try to hit it out of a really nice lie in the fairway, but your mileage may vary, man. So see what you think. I had kind of pictured that for you to have the 3 hybrid or the 4 hybrid, using that instead of a 5-iron off the tee, and hopefully hitting it farther and straighter with a little better trajectory. So with this, I had the shaft that came with the 3 and the shaft that came with the 4 here. The KBS hybrid. It's supposed to be a pretty good hybrid shaft. Looking at it in terms of doesn't want to focus. There we go. So it's an 80-gram shaft, so it's not as light as some, so that's a good thing. So 80-gram hybrid shaft. One is longer than the other, in case these are too long. So one of them is a bit longer than the other. And then I made the other ones that I bought, this ProForce V2 and then the steel shaft. They're a little longer, mostly for somebody your height. But if they feel too long, like I said, easy enough to pop off the grip and make them shorter for you in the future. So like I said, if you needed both of them or loved both of them, that could be a possibility that you're subbing out like maybe the 6-iron or something crazy, and then you're playing a 7-iron and those 2 hybrids. But usually you'd go down to at least a 6-iron, if not a 5-iron, and then play one of those as your driving iron, and maybe using them, like I said, out of the fairway on a perfect lie. But that's more tight par 4. You don't want to get out the 3-wood, you don't want to get out the driver, and you just want to have something that you're not going to put in the trees on either side. So you just smack that thing 260 down the center. So those are our current batch of clubs to design and test. So my thinking would be, if you like one of these sets of irons, then we take whatever shaft is in the iron and we put it into a set of wedges. which I have, the same brand and type of wedges that you have. And so I will take the shafts out of those and make them into a matched set that goes along with whatever irons work for you, so that you've got the same stiffness, and that just gives you a little bit more feel so that you don't feel like you're having something weird happen between your pitching wedge and your wedges. And we've got those to go. Then in terms of length, I was thinking of seeing if you liked the length of these clubs and then giving you some longer wedges, which that way you don't have to hunch over or squat down as you're trying to take a full wedge shot. It's a much bigger deal on a full wedge from the fairway than it is a touch shot. But I think it's kind of weird when you're trying to swing a wedge, especially the taller you are, the more you're going to struggle with the shortest clubs on a full swing. So trying to hit a lob wedge for somebody your size, you practically have to squat down to make the solid contact. So getting you a set of longer wedges, seeing if that works, and then if it doesn't, easy enough to cut them all off and start over with normal wedge lengths. So, driver, 4 sets of irons to demo. We've got 2 different heads of your driving iron with a combination of 2 identical shafts that are just different lengths, and then 2 fairly different, one graphite, one steel shaft. Same graphite and steel shaft to try out in your hybrid for some consistency of feel. And then as a wild card, you could always use the stock shaft that came with it. With all of these clubs, if we're putting you into a tour stiff, one of the things to keep in mind is that I don't think you should be probably hitting these dramatically longer at all, and maybe not longer than any of your current clubs, because you're not going to get more kick with a tour stiff shaft. You're going to get less kick, but it's going to be a more consistent flex. And the idea is probably that you're not going to have these weird hits that just occasionally go crazy long or crazy right, because the shaft is going to be flexing more predictably. So you can take a full swing and just have the expectation that it's going to be straighter. Your irons may actually be the same length as your current irons. It could possibly be even a little longer, because your irons are going to be an inch longer. So your 7 iron is going to be the same length as your 5 iron. Your 9 iron is going to be the same length as your 7 iron. And that's going to translate into probably 5 or 6 miles an hour, maybe, I think, with each of those club heads. So you might hit them farther than you do right now. And some of it might be that a lot of these are like players' irons where there's not a lot of game improvement in them. So they're designed to be consistent and easy to work the ball left and right, so that way you don't have to, manufacture all these weird, extra distance type features. You're just swinging harder or hit your 7 iron instead of hitting your 8 iron when you want it to go 15 yards further. So see if you feel like they're good. I'm hoping that it's more like part of the consistency of your game. But if you're playing an inch longer irons, you could get quite a bit of a bump in distance as possible. But we're thinking, in my mind, not that you're going to hit these clubs farther, but that you're going to hit them better and maybe like the feel of them. And then if you hit them farther, then that's an impossible double win, and that's mostly just from probably making them longer. So try all these, see what you think, take your time. And then my idea was anything that doesn't work, or like you're probably not going to need any of these extra shafts, so box those back up and ship them back. If you've got a winner, perfect. If you decide that a driving iron doesn't work, obviously just box them all back up and ship them back out here. And then we can go from there. And then, like I said, if that driver shaft doesn't work, just box it up, ship it back, and we'll try and figure out what's different or what you need to do differently. And then all these iron shafts, probably what I might have you do is actually just box up even the ones that you like and ship them back out, so that I can get them the exact same length as you want them. And then, you just be without them for 10 days until you get your entire set back in the mail. All right, Marcus, have fun. Let me know what you think. Bye.